Hey there guys, today is going to be a new chapter in the saga of the shipping container shop. Not really, actually I'm just building a workbench and it is right over there. It's a little miter saw station, so let me show you how I built it. This miter saw station is pretty basic in nature, and what I'm doing here is just ripping down a bunch of strips of plywood at just under 16 inches wide. That way I can get 3 full strips per sheet of plywood. And this will consist of the top and the cabinets. Pretty much everything's going to be the same dimensions, and these are just little cut-off sections that I'm using to fill in the bottoms and the tops of the cabinet bases. And yes, if you are wondering, I am going to be using pocket holes for the majority of this build. I know some people hate them, but they work for me, and I definitely think they serve a purpose. If you were looking for fine woodworking, this ain't the place. Okay, so the cabinet bases are pretty much complete. There's just a couple more things I need to do to them, adding drawers, and I'm going to add some feet on them to raise them up about an inch or two. But you might have noticed that there's an extra piece of wood on the insides of both of these bases, and that is to hold this little shelf that I made with one of the extra pieces of plywood, and those are just cleats. So you'll see the shelf kind of sits in there like that. This will eventually get screwed to the cabinet, but if you're wondering what that was about, just to give me a little extra storage. Now that the cabinet bases are done, I'm starting to work on the top of the workbench, and this is going to be the piece that is going to allow the miter saw to sit right over there. And then what I'm going to do is sandwich another piece of plywood with these little dividers on this section, and it's going to kind of create like a torsion box, a little rigid piece of work surface, as well as give me some spaces to put some drawers that I can kind of pull out of each one of these sections just to keep junk in. For the main construction of the drawers, I'm just using pocket holes, and I'm also going to use glue and some finish nails too. Now, some people who are big into woodworking will say this is an inferior joinery technique, and dovetails would be better. But what I say is sometimes adequate is enough, and this is a shop and it's not a paid job. So that's what I'm going with for now. Another thing about pocket hole joinery that I think is kind of pertinent is that ultimately it's a means to an end. It's basically a solution to a problem. You're always going to have people out there that'll say a certain technique or tool or something is always better than the next. And to be honest, there's probably 5 different techniques of making drawers that are better than pocket holes. But for me right now, it's quick and it's efficient, and it does the job. So right now I'm just using the nail gun to tack these drawer fronts on top of the drawers to give a little bit better closure on these openings, and also to kind of give it a nicer, cleaner look. You might notice I just used one piece of plywood, and I tried to keep the same piece of wood for this so all the grain kind of matches. And I'm just going to do a couple, and that'll hold it there until I can put some screws in from the inside. So you might be wondering about one change I made to this top, and that is this board back here. It's kind of acting like a backsplash, but it's there for a couple of reasons. The first one is it's giving a little bit of extra strength and stiffness to this top, since there's really no supporting section for this. And the other reason is that I ripped all of these pieces of plywood to the exact same width, and when I built the cabinets and the shelves, everything was flush, but when I added these drawer faces, they were staggered out one thickness of plywood. So adding that board there just keeps everything nice and flush and just looks a lot better. And what I'm doing right now is just adding these little strips of wood so that I can cut another piece of plywood out so that it can set in here, so I can have like a dual purpose use of this space. So whenever I'm not using the saw, I can just have it as a flat workbench. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. It is pretty much finished. I would say probably about 90%. There's still a few finishing touches I would like to add to it, like a measuring rip fence and a few other like little finesse items, but I may save that for a future update. But for now, it's pretty much 100% fully functional, and I'm happy about that because then I can go on to other projects and do some things that I've been wanting to do. But the cool thing with this is, once I get this all set up with the saw and all of the things in the drawers, means I should be using the shop more and more from now on. So instead of seeing me do all of the cutting outside, you're gonna start seeing me use the shop quite a bit more. I'm sure some people are asking about like the top and near those outlets and things like that with the sawdust. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with that. I'm not going to put a dust collection system. That's pretty much what the fan in the background is going to be, and then just an air hose. That's why I'm trying to put everything on the edge here. Sometimes when you're looking at the camera, you just blank out and forget what you're going to say. What is to come for the next phase of this shipping container project? That is going to be a workbench for the back of the shop, and that's going to be kind of like my main tinkering workbench. I'm going to do a heavy top with a vise and some things like that, and then the rest of the projects are going to be pretty much storage solution based, so shelving for the walls and maybe like a little cubby system and maybe like a cart or something like that. But before that, I probably will take a little bit of a hiatus from the shipping container and the building projects to do some rainwater harvesting projects. For those of you who don't know, I live in the Arizona desert off of almost 90 to 95% rainwater, and our monsoons are just around the corner, so I need to do some stuff on my rainwater system, and I'll probably be doing some videos on that. And specifically, I'm going to be doing a questions and answers video for my rainwater harvesting system. I did a video on that a couple years ago, and I've had so many, literally hundreds if not thousands of questions from folks just wanting to know different things, and I'm finally going to get about doing that. So anyway, there will be 2 or 3 videos in between, say, the next build video, but for those of you who are into the rainwater harvesting or the gardening, maybe that'll be more interesting for you. And before I forget, I did want to make one mention. I don't know if you noticed it, my neighbors Jason and Erica gave me a freaking awesome birthday present. They had this custom shirt made from one of their friends, actually a girl I also went to high school with. And anyway, it was just a super cool gift, and I've actually contacted her just to see if she might be willing to do like a more of a production run in case some of you guys might want to wear this. I don't know, maybe you don't, but just in case, I wanted to throw it out there. So as always, guys, I really appreciate you watching. Definitely give me a thumbs up if you like this, hit the subscribe button, and let me know if you have any questions. We'll see ya.